All right, can folks hear me? I've got 10:30. We'll go ahead and get started. Work sessions. Work sessions are an opportunity for board members to discuss issues informally with staff and invited guests. The board encourages members of the public to attend work sessions and listen to the discussion, but there's generally no opportunity for public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the board are welcome to do so during the board's regularly scheduled meetings held twice monthly. Now, I know that we have listed an executive session on the agenda this evening. We are not going to have an executive session today, so that is canceled. And Teresa has pulled up the agendas through February 4th. You'll see that our December 17th work session is canceled. Does anybody have a question or comment on the rolling agenda? Okay. Not seeing any, we'll go ahead and move on to our first item, which is the Human Services Advisory Council membership recommendations on page 2. And Lisa Schuyler, our Health Promotion Supervisor and Clatsop County Public Health. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, thank you, Chair Quayla and members of the board. So the Human Services Advisory Council in September had a vacancy. They're a 9-member council. So they were down to 8. Sorry, multiple phones going. So they did an open recruitment and they've discussed it as a group and are now recommending the applicant Nicholas Bowling to join their council as a member.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you, Lisa. So we have an open position, and this would be filling that open position on the advisory council. And this is Commissioner District 3. Do we have any questions? Okay. Short and sweet, looks like.
Great, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day. We'll move on to the next item. And this is the proposed public land corner preservation fund fee adjustment for Clatsop County. And Vance Swenson, welcome, our county surveyor.
Right. Thank you, Chair Quayla, members of the board. My name is Vance Swenson, Clatsop County surveyor. Today, the item that I wish to discuss, let's see, I'm going to try to talk and share my screen at the same time. Okay. So hopefully you all can see
Yep,
this.
we can see it.
So if I click it to slideshow.
Perfect.
All right. Okay, so thanks for your time. I'd like to talk to you today about a fee adjustment for the Clatsop County Public Land Corner Preservation Fund. You all hopefully have the information summary in front of you. Most of what's on that I'll discuss in a little more detail. At the end, the last sentence is per ORS, there's a new proposed fee would need to be presented at a public hearing on January 14th. Since that was put out, talking with County Council, we'll have to actually amend the ordinance, and it sounds like it'll take 2 sessions to do that. So with that, a goal that my office has had for roughly the last 15 years is to fill a vacancy in the public land corner survey technician position. Since 1985, due to inflation, there was a fee that's collected on each land-related deed. It was capped at $10. Inflation has made the buying power of $10 worth about $3 today. And so those, by 2000, we had positions in 1985, we had 2. And when I started in 03, we had 2 public land corner employees. But by 08, the funding had gotten so small that both of those are gone. So the steps to get to filling that position would be, we needed to go down to the state legislature and remove that cap of $10. And now the second step is what we're doing today, to propose to you to set a new fee. And if you approve, the next step, which may be the hardest, will be to fill that technician position with a full-time employee. So to start with, some of you probably know, but what the heck are these public land survey corners? Why are they important? It's a giant subject. I'm going to try to really boil it down to a little bit without hopefully skipping anything important. They basically are a survey marker that serves as an anchor point for property descriptions, and they're set in a square mile grid, like you could see in the background. And so all property has a deed with it, and it's going to be a couple of sheets of paper, and in it there'll be a couple paragraphs that are going to have a description of the boundaries of that property. The vast majority of the properties in Clatsop County are going to be residences, but you also properties for resource land, timberland, farmland, also rights of way, whether it be county roads, state highways, BPA transmission lines. Those are going to have those same legal descriptions. And so if you're like me, you've long since, and you own a house, and I've long since lost my deed, the sheets of paper, but you don't really need to worry about that. They're recorded in the permanent records. Every deed that was ever recorded, it is at the clerk's records to look up. And so you could follow the paper trail back. So they're going to begin like this example, beginning at the quarter corner, common to sections 31 and 36, marked by an aluminum cap, State of Clatsop County Surveyor. That section, that's those square miles. That's a surveyor's term for those square miles. Here's a really neat old map of Oregon in 1863. I'll talk a little bit about how that public land survey system was created on nationhood. One of the big priorities in the early 1800s was to settle the West, and a couple really important reasons. They wanted to get settlers out thriving, but they also it's really an American idea to have citizens own land. And a democracy is good on paper, but you actually have to have the citizens able to thrive and be independent to be able to actually make that work. And so having a system in place that was uniform with markers that the settlers could easily see when they got out to their property, and they would get a patent, a deed from the United States, they could easily, each county and state could keep track. And so although this is historical, these corners seem like something in the 1800s, they're still very much used today. Here's a picture of the states and the portion of the United States that have that public land survey system. It started in Ohio, the Ohio Valley, in the early 1800s. And I believe Oregon and Washington is in the 1850s, or baseline in Meridian. You kind of see this. If I point at this screen, can you see my mouse, hopefully? There,
Yes.
anyway,
Yeah,
there's
we
the
can see it.
baseline in Meridian. It's 1851. Okay, I was pointing at the wrong screen, sorry. So what are public land survey corners? They're typically the contract surveyors that the federal government hired. They went out, literally set these corners every mile and a half mile across eventually the whole western portion of the United States. And they, on the coast where there were trees, they would set a post in the ground and measure over to some bearing trees. On the eastern Oregon, they used stones. As surveyors went back and revisited those, they would replace them with iron pipes they'd start with. And now today we'll replace those with a brass cap on a nice big piece of pipe and put it in concrete. The point is we really want those to stay exactly where they were set to begin with. The fundamental principle of land law in the US is if you find where that original surveyor set that point, whether it's exactly right or not, that holds in legal descriptions. So on this example, the background is one of those maps with the square mile grids, and there's a description that was recorded just a few years ago that's still, it's calling for that section corner, and the purple arrow points over to it. The two examples of post caps aren't exactly for that corner, but there's one very similar there. So here's an aerial photo with a tax map overlay of the exact same property. And if you look, you can see the same square mile grid and the arrows pointing to the exact same corner. This is out in the Swenson area. And so you can see how that grid section is relied on today and how it's filled in with smaller and smaller properties as land is sold and divided and settled. The other thing in the lower right, you can see how much timber companies and resource land relies on these corners, and these section lines, actually a lot of them are directly their property lines. So here in the bottom you can see some harvest limits right up on that section line. So land corners are foundational to our financial system. We take for granted that banks are willing to use land as collateral because the boundaries are known. If they're not known, the cost of a loan for somebody, middle-class person like me, that would be out of reach. But since we've kept good track of our property lines, banks can do that because they relate directly back to these public land survey corners. And if you think about how much in the country and even in Clatsop County of our financial system is based on loans on land, it's a giant amount, an oversized amount. And also, loans with land as collateral is not a reality in every country. There's a lot of third world countries that don't have a public land survey system. And so land is valueless in that regard to them. Banks, they don't know where the property lines are, so title companies aren't going to insure it. And so it perpetuates that poverty in those countries because folks don't have access to any sort of financial resources and loans. So we obviously use the term foundational a lot. And I think in this case, we can use it in a fairly literal term. Right now, obviously housing prices and housing availability is a huge priority in the state and the county. And there's lots of great programs and ideas that are being implemented. When we get done with all that thinking and all that planning, and we get down to the actual doing and the creating of housing and units of land, literally the very first thing that needs to be done before you can start digging that foundation for a new house, that's going to be a surveyor or a survey technician going out and searching for one of those public land survey corners so they can measure in the property lines. Here's a great example of a recent subdivision in Seaside. It's based off of these two public land survey corners. I've been to both of these corners recently, one here this one to the south, it's in an area that had a lot of heavy earth moving around it, and it was restored in the I think right around 1985. And I can almost guarantee that if that corner hadn't been restored and some nice bearing trees and a nice corner marker would have been there, whoever was doing that excavation would tore that out. The corner to the north up here is in between two houses in a yard, right in a fence line. Same thing. If it hadn't have been restored in the 1980s, there's a good chance that one would be gone. And this particular subdivision of boundaries, it was a difficult boundary resolution to do. There's a good chance that this subdivision wouldn't have happened at all, or it would have been much more expensive to happen. So yeah, banks are gonna, before they give that loan, they're gonna insist on knowing where those property lines are. And I think more importantly, and this explains really why they're surveying at all, is neighbors are going to insist on knowing where property lines are before your construction begins. There's a joke that really isn't a joke at all. If you haven't met your neighbor yet, go pile some fencing material out by the property line and you'll get a knock on your door that very same day, or you'll get a letter from their attorney. Again, foundational public infrastructure boundaries, same thing. Before construction begins, county road projects, before we begin a major road project, we go out, we're going to search for the same public land survey corners to survey the road, because the abutting owners on that road are going to insist that we do our project within our right of way. So state highway map, there's the pointing at the wrong screen again. There's the public land survey corner, bearings and distances over to the right-of-way line. Bonneville Power transmission line right-of-way, same thing, ties to a couple of these public land survey corners. So since the 1800s, it's been the county surveyor's duty to maintain these corners. Above, I've listed, amongst other duties, here's the two statutory duties: to establish, reestablish, and maintain all public land survey corners. There's no other agency that does this work that has this mandate statute. The county surveyor, this is duty 5 and 6 on a list. It's important to note that we also have lots of other duties that we perform that have their own funding sources and fees that go with it. This is just what we're talking about today, is just funding that specific one related to maintaining these public land survey corners. So in the 1980s, the legislature recognized that we weren't keeping up on the maintenance of these corners. So we created ORS 203-148, which allowed for each county to fund this maintenance program. And Clatsop County, we really used that funding to do a great job. We had a great corner program. There's a picture, a couple of my predecessors who really did great keeping those, and they restored a lot of corners. It's an ongoing process. Part of this, of the infrastructure, is the report and the history that goes with it. Yeah, there's the physical marker in the ground, but then we've got to keep track of the maps and the reports that go with them. So surveyors and the public can come in and read those and be assured that, yes, this is really the actual corner, and any sort of technical information that goes with it. We measure state plane coordinates on them and publish those over here. if these corners disappear, it's just like any other infrastructure. It's much more cost effective to steadily maintain it, just like a bridge. If you paint it regularly, it's much more cost effective than waiting for the bridge to rust away and then have to buy a whole brand new bridge. Same thing with this. If you wait till the corner disappears, it's extremely difficult to replace them if you even can find where they were. So after the passage of this state statute, you can read it, that shall be used only to pay expenses for maintenance of the public land survey corners. There's the not to exceed $10 that we successfully got out of the statute. And in 1985, the Clatsop County Board adopted an ordinance, and they set the fee at that time to the maximum amount of $10. So I'm here in front of you today for the same reason as in 1985. Again, why do we need to modernize the fee? Yearly inflation has taken that buying power of $10 and just constricted it down. And it was important that we got that cap of the $10 out of the statute, because I don't think it was really anybody's intent to make this program go away. But just by that natural act of inflation, it was just getting constricted down to the point where medium-sized county like ours, we can't really practically do the work. So since then, we still get out. There's me and Jason, my deputy. Amongst our other duties, we get out and we'll do a corner occasionally, but it's really been on life support. Obviously, this isn't something that the average person knows a lot about. We kind of take it for granted, like so many things we do in life. Lights come on when we flip the switch. The water comes out of the faucet when we turn it. But so it's up to us to bring the issue to you. And so we really wanted to start and follow the correct process through our leadership. And so we started with AOC and obviously our state lawmakers. And now I'm here today to talk with you, hopefully inform you on this. So we successfully passed House Bill 3175 and got that cap removed. We went down to the legislature and it was pretty bipartisan and pretty overwhelmingly passed, which was really encouraging to see. So with all that said, the proposal for you today, again, is to get that one of those two full-time public land corner technicians back. So we worked with budget and finance, and basically the math wasn't extremely complicated. We just added an FTE, the full cost of an FTE, wages and benefits, onto our current expenses. Then just figured out what we figured out how many deeds we're recording and what that number would be. And so the proposal is to go from $10 that we collect now up to $30. Here's the actual numbers. We've got some funding at the top, the very top, pointing the wrong screen again, sorry. Pointing at the top line, if you divide that by 10, that's going to be the number of actual land-related deeds that are recorded. So we're between 5,000 and 6,000 deeds are recorded a year. That's where most of the income for this program comes in. We have a balance at the bottom. Since we haven't had full-time employees, we've actually been spending less than we've been taking in, which has built up a nice balance. It's just about right for a program to have a few years of actual expenses built into it. So that timing is really good there. We do get a little bit of interest on investment. I can say that the number of deed recordings fluctuates yearly quite a bit based on, and I think it's mainly based on inflation rates, how many houses are being bought. So yeah, based on a three-year average, these are just some of the numbers to get at where we're at today. You could see the total revenue, the increase of 113. That's about what a FTE would cost for that particular position. Although it doesn't fund 2 employees like we used to have, it coincidentally is just about what the buying power of $10 would be worth today. I think I Googled it here a couple weeks ago, and $1985 would be like $30.11 to buy the same product today. Since we're proposing hiring and training a professional, it's really a priority for my office to keep that person here long term for a number of reasons. And then lastly, now that that cap is removed, it's possible for you all to adjust that going forward so we don't end up way behind. Or if we end up bringing in more than we need, we could back it off. So with that, be glad to answer any questions. There's just some examples of what we do.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vance. It's great to see the thorough history of land corners and the importance to Clatsop County and of course the whole, Western United States. Love to see these pictures of your predecessors, Mr. Thornton and Mr. Hoagland. And absolutely, I mean, it's 40 years. I think your estimate of $30 certainly seems right on. Commissioner Webb has her hand up. Commissioner
Webb? Thank you, Chair Quayla. Vance, as you can anticipate, I have several questions.
Sure.
Before the meeting started, I told Vance how excited I was for this presentation because as a person who's spent a lot of my career on land issues, this was just I think a terrific presentation. I think it's also for somebody who has lived in several foreign countries. It's kind of fascinating to me how the evolution of land, what would we call it, Vance? Identification of land, just understanding.
Yeah.
And incidentally, my favorite, I'm a big what do you call it, word person. My favorite word, maybe in the English language, is cadastre.
Yeah, I was going to mention that word. That's the technical word. I mean, you could call it lots of things, but that cadastral surveying,
right,
is property lines, which is a little different, like engineering surveying, which is,
right,
going to be laying out houses and foundations and roads and things.
right. So thank you. This has been terrific. But you added something in your presentation that I didn't quite follow on the slide that you had up.
Sure.
You were talking about the number of surveys that you do. That's it. This was the one that was on.
Sure.
And it seemed so high to me. It was so
Number of
was
deeds recorded, maybe?
Is it and what was that? That is, could you take me through so I understand this public land preservation and the franchise fees? What You
Yeah,
mentioned
to be honest with you, I'm not sure what that franchise fee is. I think it's probably just some financial thing. But if you
Oh.
look at the top line, like let's look at fiscal year 23. So 59,082 would have been what we brought in. So that would be
What do you mean
if
by brought in?
yeah, so the clerk records, all deed records. About roughly 85% of those, there's a list in the statute that talks about the type of deed that you collect the fee on, and it's land related. So like mortgages, bargain and sale deeds, warranty deeds, that's about 85% of all the deeds that are recorded. And so of that 85%, we currently collect $10. So the math is if you took that amount, 59,000, and divide it by 10, that would be 5,900 roughly deeds are recorded for that particular year. So we
And when-
record about 5,900 deeds, land-related deeds in Clatsop County in 2020, in fiscal year 2023. And that changes the amount of deeds that record. So that's going to be the average cost of a home is about $500,000. 5% of that roughly is closing costs. It's about $25,000. So if you go buy a house, you're going to be in at your title company, and they're going to have all those other closing costs, and they'll go record that deed at the clerk's office. Every land transaction, as you know, requires that there's a deed that's recorded to make it legal. And so that number reflects, that's the dollar amount. But yeah, you could just divide that by 10 to see how many land related deeds are recorded. Does that answer your question? Am I reading that right?
Well, yes, but I guess I didn't realize that doesn't mean transactions. That means anything. It could be refinances, right? It can be all
Yeah,
kinds. It can be
yeah, let's see
probably
if
if
I
you
can
do.
get fancy here. And I've got the list of the statute, if you could see that. Let me go down to, so here's the statute, the clerk
Oh.
statute, if you can see that. And here's the list, A, B, C, D, and E. So cause to be recorded, deeds and mortgages, certificates of sale, certified copies of death records only for folks who own land.
Uh-huh.
And that one, there's some interest in focused on that, on C, that we could get into. The clerk may want to talk to you about that later. That's a very small amount are these death certificates for folks who have land.
Interesting.
Instruments presented for recording. So this would be if the state recorded a deed. And then this last one is probably going to be some catch-all or another obscure one, but the vast majority of them are going to be deeds and mortgages on real property.
Okay,
And
thank you.
that's what that $10 is recorded on.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for that explanation. I appreciate it. You scared me for a second because I thought that we had we're developing 5,000 pieces of property in Clatsop County every year, and so I
No,
had questions about that.
yeah, no, but apparently we at least do deeds on that many. A lot of those are going to be refinances and things. I
Right.
doubt I don't know the exact
Okay.
percentages, but yeah, they
Okay, thank you.
refinances are
Thank you.
actual sales. So yeah.
Thank you.
I think
Okay.
that was a good question, Commissioner Webb. I thought the same things. That 5,600 on average seemed like a large number of transactions that would take place during the year, but I appreciate the clarification, Vance. Do we have any other questions? Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah. This seems like a really minor financial charge. on the other hand, sometimes people get excited about small amounts. Is there any opposition to this proposed change? I haven't heard any. It seems entirely reasonable. It seems essential to maintain the integrity of the system. So I just didn't know, wanted to check.
Well, the only ones I know of was when we presented at the legislature, there was the Association of Bankers who were technically originally opposed, but they made it very clear they were just opposed to removing the cap. It was nice because they were actually extremely supportive of raising the amount. They understood that. And so Mallory Roberts, our AOC legislative director, worked with them and assured them that, hey, we're not going to be able to go and have this proposal run away from you. And so that we really, on a statewide level, each county is different. Clatsop County is a medium-sized county, and this proposal probably is going to have the biggest effect on medium-sized counties. But some of the large counties, like populace-wise, like Multnomah, Clackamas, and Washington, they currently don't even need to charge the full $10. So once I think that was kind of pointed out that, hey, this isn't, we couldn't all have, we could try, maybe there's some board of commissioners that would want to charge some outrageous amount, but that $30 wasn't officially what, no one ever set an amount because each county will be different. There's some giant area-wise counties in Eastern Oregon that might only have 10, 20,000 people. They couldn't charge enough with the way this program is set up. They might only record 200 deeds a year or something. So it's not going to affect them so much. It's not going to affect the big counties. They're not a lot, but the medium-sized counties like Clatsop, Hood River, Lincoln, some of those, it means the difference between us having the program or not. And so the only opposition actually was made it clear that they were really in favor of it. So it was really nice in that regard.
Well, congratulations. Well done. Glad to see it. I'm definitely in favor of it. I assume everybody is.
Yeah, and to finish up with that, they withdrew any opposition and they just remained neutral. So yeah, there wasn't any official opposition at the state level. There could be at the local level.
Well, kudos to your efforts, Vance, to lobby for this. It's just another example of Clatsop County having influence and relevance in Salem. So congratulations. And then I think this is this funds a position. It's not a very large increase in the scheme of things. Makes a whole lot of sense, and certainly I appreciate you presenting it to us. And then this will come back to us then in January, correct?
Correct. And we can work on what you would like to see for that presentation, if anything, at that time, or how you'd like to do that. I'm willing to do whatever to get that done, and we'll work on getting the ordinances worked out and have everything ready for you.
Sounds great. We have any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much, Vance. Appreciate your hard work.
Thank you.
And we don't have anything else on our work session, so we will take the time now to adjourn and wish you all a great rest of your Wednesday. And we will have our regular meeting next week. See you all later.